Tom here, coming back for a weekly trade recap, and I thought today's EU short would have been a nice fitting trade to recap. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the charts. So Euro USD 4-hour chart here. As I mentioned on the live call, we have that FT to the downside, the 1-2 break and close below that fractal low, therefore confirming that bearish bias. We track back a little bit to the most recent high and most recent low, and this is our current dealing range. And we know anything above the 1.09542 level is premium, and we can assume sells. So let's jump down to the 15-minute. So if I zoom out slightly here, as you saw on my outlook, we have this external range here. This is the external liquidity range that is currently trading in price. This low and this high have been maintained, and price has merely been contained within that range. Yeah? But within that, when we see these large box ranges, these 15-minute ranges, we tend to build internal structure. And it's that internal structure that's really going to frame a trade idea. It really started down here, but really we can sort of build the structure when we come into session. So we can start here pretty much, and we've got a low to high. Let's drag this over to the right. If we really want to start over here, we could, and we just follow it up, and we've got this low and this high. As you can see, during the night on Wednesday, we breached that high. We moved to the most recent low, most recent high. Still maintaining this external range. Let's change this to internal. Again, and we start following the structure down. Again, low and a high here. This was the trade, lovely trade on Wednesday. Broke it down on the live call yesterday. Playing that internal range liquidity. So short there, plus 3%. Again, let's move it down, following the ranges. Again, moving it down, and moving it up now because we've breached the high. This is our current internal range. And the short this morning, I can see how it was a little bit confusing because we had internal range here, and then we began to build more internal ranges. It gets a bit complex, but when you see it, you can't really unsee it. As you can see, within this, again, larger internal range, we have another internal range. We have the low to high. We breach the low, and this is still our maintained high. So, we have just breached that internal range high. What caused it? You can see this bullish candle here caused that liquidation, so we know sell stop on the low of that candle. To the high, it's about 10 pips, so I'm going to call it an 11 pip stop. TP at 33 pips, which it achieved nicely. Nice 3% trade there, and as you can see here, it pretty much reversed. I closed it for 1.3% around here after we sort of dropped out at around 1 o'clock. Closed it for 1.3% just before the news. So nice trade all round, nice profitable trade. So then that was the London session. Let's go ahead and remove that, and then we start to again manipulate the range. As you can see, we breached this larger internal range, so we can get rid of this now. And we know that after we've reached that sort of internal range, that it is the internal range of the larger external range. We could almost say it is relevant, but it's kind of not the most recent. The most recent would be, for example, this in here. As you can see, it breached nicely, and there's a nice trade here just tagged outside of session. So for playing this internal range here that's part of previous price action, they are valid. They are valid trades. You see the liquidation of that large push up just after news. Sell stop below the low. Again, stop loss above the high. That's about 17.5. I'll call it 19. I always like to go 1 pip and then round up pretty much. As you can see, it hit SL there. So we journal and move on. But as you'll know from your testing, if you'll use most recent price action, most recent ranges, external range liquidity here, builds internal with another internal range in here, then we see the expansion out of that range. And then that becomes that. That's the most recent. We wait for a liquidation of that high. What do we know after we've breached the external range? We can now assume that this is our new external range here, because we've breached it. This is the new low. So this here would have been a nice tag, just slightly outside of session there. And then if we move it out, this is our most recent external range here. So I hope that clears any confusion up. As always, don't hesitate to contact me in Discord, publicly or privately, or wherever you feel comfortable. And I will see you all later.